Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. You can also download that KFYO app and listen to us anywhere you go. We kick off this hour with another candidate joining us here on the program. Candidate for the 99th District Court, John Grace, joining us here in studio. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm glad to be here.
Well, glad to have you on the show today, and for listeners to learn a little bit about yourself and why you've decided to run. So tell folks a little bit about yourself and why you decided to throw your hat into the ring.
Sure. Well, Chad, I'm a West Texas native, born and raised in Midland. I've been practicing law for about 26 years. I currently work for the city of Lubbock. I'm in the city attorney's office. I've been doing that for about 10 years. Prior to that, I worked for Bill Souter and Matt Powell in the criminal district attorney's office. But I was doing a little bit different from what most of the folks do there. I did civil litigation for Lubbock County, which is the same thing that I do for the city of Lubbock. So I'm the lawyer who represented the county and now the city whenever they would get sued. And then before that, I spent about 8 years in private practice and did all kinds of work. I did general civil work, which means I did things like car wrecks and consumer law. I represented small businesses. I did a lot of family law. I did some criminal worked with juveniles, kids in the court system. And so that's kind of the experience that I bring to this job. One of the reasons that I'm running for judge is that having done all of these different things, and I've been in the courtroom on both sides of just about every type of case that goes into the 99th District Court, I think I've got a unique perspective on what it takes to be a good lawyer or a good judge in the 99th to allow the parties to come in and get have a level playing field and to get a fair hearing where they leave the courtroom feeling like they had their day in court.
Right.
And that's something that has always been important to me as a lawyer representing my clients. And that's what I want to bring to the 99th.
What type of cases are we talking about here that would go through the 99th court?
Sure. Well, the 99th it's a district court. That means it has unlimited jurisdiction in terms of money. Any size lawsuit can go into the 99th. Generally, the 99th District Court hears civil cases, and that means things like car wreck cases, business disputes, contract cases. All of our district courts hear a lot of family law cases. Those are divorces, child custody, child support, and that's, like I said, that's what I did when I was in private practice. And that's probably the largest number of cases that any of our courts see. Yeah. But it's the kind of thing. The thing that's unique about civil courts is these are lawsuits between individuals, sometimes companies, but it's private people bringing the suit rather than the government. So it's not the state versus somebody. And most of the time, this is the single biggest issue that these people have ever faced in their lives. I mean, I don't know if you've ever had to hire a lawyer, but that's not something that most people do. You'll go through a lot of people go their entire lives and have never been in a law office.
Right.
To get into a law office and hire a lawyer and go to court means you've got something that is so important that you're willing to devote your resources and your time, and it's the kind of thing that people lose sleep at night over. And that's why it's so important to have a judge who will let them then have their say in court and make sure that when they leave, whether they win or lose, that they feel like, well, I got heard and I received justice.
For those who are going to be, going and voting in this election, what do they need to look at? Between all the candidates, what do you feel as though is the important issue that voters need to look at when distinguishing, judicial candidates? Sure.
Well, and I'll tell you, there are three other candidates in my race. I've said this publicly there's not a clinker in the bunch. We're all decent guys and women. I know all of my opponents, and there's not a bad person out there. But what I think people need to look at is the breadth of experience. Have the candidates worked both sides of the issue, or are they've always been defense lawyers, or they've always been plaintiffs' lawyers, or they've only represented one side in family law.
Why do you think that would be important?
Well, because that's what gives you perspective, so that when I talk about having a level playing field, it means that you're going into the courtroom and you don't have a predisposed idea of of kind of who the good guys are and who the bad guys are, and you don't go in saying, "Oh, I've seen 100 of these cases and I know how they're going to go."
Right.
That you say, you know what, this is a unique case, and once again, this is the most important thing that these people have ever done in their lives. They need a judge who's going to say, "I'm going to let you have your day in court." That it's not predisposed when they walk in.
What would you say for those who ask, about judicial philosophy? What would you say where yours kind of lines up?
Well, I am a lifelong Republican. I'm a conservative. I'm a Christian. I believe in our Constitution. I think the Constitution is truly an inspired document, and that that it's something that we need to do our best to follow, and not to try to say, well, it's a springboard and we can change things and kind of, as riff off of the Constitution and see where else it can go. It's a very unique document, and a judge needs to follow the law and not try to legislate from the bench and become a legislator. If you want to go make law, go to Austin or go to Washington, but don't sit on a bench.
Yeah. Tell folks how they can find out more about you and follow your campaign.
Sure. I've got a website. It's johngraceforjudge.com, and the 4 is spelled out, F-O-R. You can also follow me on Facebook, and it's John Grace for Judge on Facebook. On my website and on Facebook is my phone number, my email address. I love hearing from people, and so if anybody has a question, email me or call me, and I will answer any question you ask.
Is there something that you get when you're, and I know you've done a lot of speeches and you've gone to a lot of groups, what's kind of that one question that you get, or something that, if we haven't, like that one question that you get that you go, that's good, and that's what a lot of people ask about.
I think what a lot of people want to know is how does a judge keep personal feelings from kind of infecting a case. And I'll tell you, that to me is what's meant by being a true conservative. You follow the law, you look at the case law, you look at the statutes as they're written, and you apply them. You're calling balls and strikes. You're not trying to decide, well, I think, this team ought to advance or this team ought to lose.
Yeah.
If you follow the rules, then your personal feelings really don't come into play.
You have to take emotion out of it. And you have to look at just what does the law say? What does the Constitution say?
And sometimes that means that the party that seems very sympathetic doesn't win. Sometimes it means that the party that doesn't seem sympathetic does win. Mm-hmm. But the idea is that both of them leave saying, okay, well, I got my say, and I was heard, and the judge let my case go forward. Yeah. And then you take your lumps or you take your victories.
Yeah. John Grace, candidate for the 99th District Court. Tell folks one more time how they can find you online.
www.johngraceforjudge.com or on Facebook at John Grace for Judge.
All right. Very good. Glad to have you in.
Chad, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping by. Chad Hasty Show, KFYO.